All right, I don't know if anyone else has picked up on this, but Kirby Smart does not like the Tennessee Volunteers, and I think that is pretty clear. Of course, everyone remembers Kirby Smart's first year at Georgia, where they basically gave the game away to Tennessee thanks to Rico McGraw's nonsense, taking his helmet off at the end of the game, whatever, Georgia lose on a Hail Mary. That has stung with Kirby Smart and this program ever since, and Georgia has not lost to Tennessee since 2016. 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020. I mean, it's 7 games in a row now Georgia has beaten Tennessee, and it's been in embarrassing fashion. These games aren't even close, and everyone says all the time, why are you talking about Tennessee? No one cares about Tennessee. They don't matter. And they're right. Tennessee doesn't matter. They're not a rival. But I think you can attribute these last 7 years, these last 7 beatdowns of Tennessee, you can trace that back to what happened losing on a Hail Mary like that. I definitely think you can trace that back, and that's something that Kirby Smart will never forget. I don't think Georgia fans will ever forget that, but that could be the last time Tennessee beats Georgia in a long, long time. And Kirby Smart, I think secretly in his own desk, may have that Tennessee game circled. It's not nearly as important as the Florida game. It's not important as the Auburn or Georgia Tech game. And again, Tennessee fans look at Georgia as a rival, right? That has turned into the biggest game of the year for them. It's not Alabama anymore. It's not Florida. It's Georgia. That's the team they cannot beat. And that's the coach that they haven't beaten in 8 years and may never beat again. In fact, I don't know if Kirby Smart has ever lost in Neyland Stadium. First off, they have to correct the spelling of Neyland Stadium. It's spelled Neyland, but they call it Neyland, but it's just, they got to fix the spelling first. Then they got to have to figure out a way to beat Kirby Smart in that stadium. Even as an assistant coach at Alabama, I don't think Kirby Smart ever lost a game when Alabama played in Neyland Stadium. And Georgia certainly hasn't lost in Neyland Stadium since Kirby Smart has been there. He's won every single time, and he's throttled Tennessee in Neyland Stadium. I mean, it's basically Sanford Stadium North. When Georgia goes up there, it's a fun time. They have a good old time, and they whip their butts, and they laugh about it. And this really hit me last year when they went up to Knoxville, just gave them a free touchdown, right? Kirby told his guys, before the kickoff, hey, let's give them something to cheer about, right? Told C.J. Allen, Smile Monday, just, move away a little bit. Let's give them that first touchdown. Let's hear one roar from the crowd, because it's the only roar that we're going to hear all game. And then they won the game 38-10. But after that game, they played this song in the locker room. I don't know who it's by. It's a little something, a thug something, a young something. One of the rappers out there, they've got a song, and it's it's called "Walk in Your Trap and Take Over Your Trap," and that's what they played in the locker room. And I thought it was hilarious because they basically walked into their house and they took it over, as they did in 2017 when they won 41-0. Georgia treated Tennessee like they were Vanderbilt, like they were Tennessee Tech. Right, like they were whoever, just insert name. That's how they treated Tennessee, which is a program that has some history. They don't have any recent history, but they've got history like long time ago, right? And yeah, I'll give them, they had a cute little run in the 90s. They were very good, and they dominated Georgia. They dominated Georgia as much as Georgia's dominating Tennessee right now. So every time, if you've got a Tennessee buddy out there who gives you, a little mess about what Tennessee did in the 90s, that evens out with what's happening right now. Georgia's crushing Tennessee. I mean, if you look at the scoreboard, it's even worse than what Tennessee did to Georgia in the 90s. Georgia won by 41 points in 2017. 41 points on the road. Shut them out. It was a complete domination. 2018, the next year, Georgia won 38-12. For you Tennessee math majors out there, that's 26 points. So Georgia won the game by 26 points. They only gave up 12. The next year, 2019, Georgia won 43-14. Again, for you Tennessee folks out there, that's a 29-point loss, right? 2020, Georgia won 44-21. Again, these games aren't even close. This is another game where I look forward to covering every year because the game's going to be over at the halftime. I can get my snacks, I can write my story at the half, basically have it done, we're boom, out of the stadium. It's one of the quickest games because we know the outcome. We just do, and I don't mean to sound cocky. I don't mean to sound whatever, but Tennessee's not beating Georgia anytime soon. And every year, you just look at the scoreboard, and when you remember the game, none of them are close. They're not even competitive towards the third and fourth quarter. And again, I think that goes back to possibly 2016 and the Hail Mary, and that's still that sting is still there. And that's what you need. You need every little bit that can help motivate you. And I guarantee you, Tennessee week, Kirby Smart's playing that Hail Mary. Now, most of the staff on the team right now, they weren't around for that game. None of the players were around, but that Hail Mary still matters, and it's something that Tennessee fans may talk about forever, right? It was one of the biggest plays in their football history. But Georgia said, okay, we'll give you that one, and we're just going to crush your brains in for the foreseeable future. In 2021, Georgia won 41-17 in Knoxville by 24 points. They're winning games by more points than they're giving up, if that makes sense. 2022, the biggest Georgia-Tennessee football game of all time. Tennessee was number one coming into Athens. They thought that number one offense was going to shine. No, Georgia crushed them. They won by 14 points, but it was the most lopsided 14-point victory you will ever see. Tennessee scored a touchdown, meaningless garbage time at the end that made it a little closer, but this game was never close. And I feel bad for the rest of the college football world who waited all week for that game. Number one, Tennessee. Number, I think, 3, Georgia, right? Everyone was looking forward to it. And then, boom, the game was over at halftime. And everyone's flipping the channels. And Georgia would go on to win national championship that year. And again, they put Tennessee in their place, and that's where they are. And, I have to give Tennessee a little credit because they are relevant now. They went 2016, 2017 to 2021, just no one cared, irrelevant. They did not matter. Week after week, if Tennessee was playing, you didn't even watch them because it didn't matter. But 2022, they did have a good team, and they were number one in the country for a few days before they played Georgia. And last year, they took a step back, and they might take another step back this year. I don't know. I like the quarterback they've got. I think he shows a lot of promise, a lot of potential. But that dude is not leading that Tennessee team into Athens and coming out with a win this year. Not going to happen. So Georgia should win their, looks like 8th in a row against Tennessee, if I've got my Kennesaw State math correct. But again, it's not a rival, but it almost feels that way at times. And if you're from North Georgia, the metro Atlanta area, Tennessee, wherever, Tennessee is a team that you probably yourself consider a rival. They're not traditional, but that's a team that you didn't want to lose to in the early 2000s. And you never want to lose to Tennessee, but, it's better than losing to Florida, losing to Auburn, or losing to Georgia Tech. But if you're a Tennessee fan, the Georgia game is the one that you want to win more than any of them. Beating Alabama is great. That's a big deal. But they're at a point where they will do anything to beat the Georgia Bulldogs, and I don't think it's going to happen this year. Now, they may not play every year. They're not going to play every year, so it's going to take a long, long time, in my opinion, for Tennessee to beat Georgia anytime soon. Again, mainly because they're not going to be playing every year. But they're playing this year. Tennessee should have an above-average team. They should be a top 25 team. I think they'll hang in there between maybe 15 and 25 throughout the season. But they're not better than Georgia. They're not coming into Athens and winning that game. They haven't done it since 2016. Not a place where they've had a ton of success. Definitely recently, they're getting crushed when they come to Athens, but they're also getting crushed when Georgia comes up there and walks into their trap and takes over their trap and then laughs and sings about it in the locker room about how they went up there and took your soul and took your home and sent all the fans home in the second quarter. They get to blast that in the locker room, and they did, and they had a great time. And when that happened, I could tell this one meant a lot. That group loved going on the road, and they snatched a win away from Auburn, and they just beat Tennessee's brains in over and over. They probably should have let it go and should have let the game in, but they kept punching and punching, laughing while they did it, and they won by 28 points. But this is a game that Kirby Smart, I do think, has circled. He's got a special hatred from Tennessee, and I think it goes back to his days at Alabama. Maybe it goes back to his days in Athens playing against Peyton Manning, but they're not a traditional rival, and everyone knows that Kirby does not like Florida, not like Auburn, not like Georgia Tech, because he's a Georgia guy, right? But there's something about Tennessee that I think rubs him the wrong way. And because of what happened in 2016, his first year at Georgia, I don't see there's any time moving forward where they are not amped up and ready to play Tennessee, no matter if they're ranked or have a cute little #1 ranking next to their name or whatever. Georgia's not losing to Tennessee anytime soon. They don't have the players. They don't have the coaches. They don't have the depth. They don't have the culture, the environment. They don't have what it takes to beat Georgia this year. Maybe down the road, maybe in the next century, maybe in the next, long, who knows? But it's not going to be this year. Thanks for watching this video. You can read more about this over on Dawg Post. You can sign up to our free newsletter. That link is down below. Hope to see you on the website.